What's up, kings and queens? It's your boy Dan from Dark Previews, and today I'm going to take you through the most comprehensive NBA player prop preview you are likely to see for Game 5 of the NBA Finals between the Boston Celtics and the Dallas Mavericks.
Yeah, game day, showing up at practice, attack them, lace them up, get active, lights, camera, then action.
Now, I know it's Game 5, and there's a chance that this is the last NBA video we get out for the rest of the season. So whilst I got the opportunity to, I encourage you to join my weekly email list. So I've got a newsletter, which is going to go out every single week. In that email, I'm going to put together tips and tricks to help you improve your win rate and drive more profit into your bankroll. The link for that is in the video description below. Feel free to check it out. Now, before we get into it, let's jump into the box score from the most recent game, talk about what happened, kind of get an idea of what we think is going to happen in the next game. Then we'll jump in an outlier. If that sounds interesting, let's go. All right, a quick recap of Game 4. The Dallas Mavericks pumped the brakes off the Boston Celtics 122-84, the most one-sided game so far in this series. Dallas absolutely dominating, but let's check the box score real quick. Jaylen Brown sucked ass, 10 points, 2 assists, 1 rebound. Jason Tatum, 15 points, 5 boards, 3 assists. Al Horford, 3 points, 4 assists and 3 boards. Derek White, 6 points, 4 boards. Drew Holiday, he had 5 turnovers, 10 points, 3 rebounds, and 2 assists. Off the bench, we saw Sam Hauser and Peyton Pritchard get a lot of buckets in about 20 minutes of game time. For the Mavs, Derek Jones Jr. had 5 points, 2 boards. PJ Washington, 6 points, 2 boards. Gafford had 7 points and 4 rebounds in only 9 minutes. Kyrie Irving, 21 points, 6 assists and 4 rebounds in 30 minutes. Luka had 29 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists in only 32 minutes. Derek Lively was a beast, 11 points and 12 boards. Josh Green, 3 points, 5 rebounds. Maxi Kleber managed to hit a 3-pointer in that last game. Dante Exum was a spark plug with 10 points and 2 rebounds. And then in garbage time, so Hardy get 5 points, 4 assists. Tim Hardaway went mental, 5 from 7 from deep, finishing on 15 points in only 12 minutes played. So not too much information we can use from the last game, but I think the key things to call out here is that everyone from Boston sucked, but I don't see them making too many changes to their rotation. It all comes down to Kristaps. Does Kristaps play or not? That's the only thing that I could see impacting the next game where we see some changes. He is a game-time decision. I honestly don't expect him to play given the injury that he has, but we shall see. So I do expect the core players for the Boston Celtics to continue to run it up, get some more minutes. And then from the Dallas side, we saw Derek Lively get a lot more minutes than Daniel Gafford once again. The difference in this game, they both had a positive rating. So regardless of who they played, they were looking good. The other key call out here is Josh Green got a lot of runs. So did Maxi and Dante Exum. We saw less minutes from Gafford, PJ Washington, and Derek Jones. So the bench for Dallas got some minutes, and they produced very well within that game. Luka had a great game offensively, despite shooting 0 from 8 from deep. Highly productive in a limited amount of time, 26 shots in 32 minutes. So he was being aggressive as hell. So I do look to Luka. I think he's going to have a great game. But we'll go through all the individual player props anyway, and then we'll see where we land. All right, we're jumping into outlier for this one. If you did not know, you could use the exact same tool I'm using, not only for NBA, MLB, NHL, WNBA, NFL, and college sports when they come back. I do have a 7-day free trial in the video link below, so feel free to check it out. In terms of this game, the spread, 6.5 points. The Boston Celtics are favorites back at home. Everybody's expecting a strong bounce back after getting destroyed in that last game. So how you bet your props in this game really depends on how you think the game is going to go. If you feel like Dallas can keep it competitive and potentially win, you might be looking at very similar props that we saw in Game 4, which cashed. But if you think the Boston Celtics come out and absolutely destroy Dallas, then you're going to see a lot of value in taking some unders for a lot of these Dallas Maverick players. So me personally, based off what I saw, there were big changes that were made in that game. One, the Dallas Mavericks, excellent at defending the paint. They camped the paint. They rotated well on defense, so they contested a lot of threes, actually forced a lot of shot clock violations, and they made a big change with how they're using their bigs. Derek Lively, Daniel Gafford, almost playing a one-man zone where they're really patrolling the paint, and they're leaving, I'd say, non-shooters, your Tillmans, probably your Horfords, leaving them wide open and daring them to shoot. and really camping the paint out. So how Boston adjusts to that is going to be different. But the other major change that the Dallas Mavericks made in that last game, they started to play with pace. I've been saying it every single game. In order for them to break this Boston Celtics defense, they have to play quicker, just like the Indiana Pacers did. So they're playing with a lot more pace, which means Boston, they're finding themselves with a couple mismatches on the other end, and Dallas taking advantage of that. So provided that Dallas plays quick, I think they do have a good chance of this one. Boston, I think what wins them the game is their shooting percentage, not so much the defensive effort, but it really comes down to their three-point shooting. They're going to live and die by the three. That last game, they shot the ball horribly. If they do shoot the ball well in this one, I can see them winning the game. So I am a little bit biased, so leaning on the side of Dallas. I also want another game, so I can't help but think that. But hopefully we can find a few picks which cater to both outcomes. A Dallas win or a Boston win, hopefully it can cash. So jumping through Outlier right now, we'll go through the Dallas Mavericks first. I like to hit the road team first, and then we can go from there. So for those of you who have already signed up to my email list, you would have noticed a few days ago, I sent an email out with a few insights from a lot of these key players, so Jason Tatum and Luka Doncic. If you took advantage of that and put your bets down nice and early, you probably got some really good lines on it. So the first one I want to talk through is Luka Doncic. So a lot of insights on Luka. He's quite consistent, really. So getting a lot of props for him is probably not too hard. So the first play I wanted to talk through is his first quarter assists, under 2.5. It's got a great hit rate, 9 out of his last 10. I've betted a few times in this series. 2.5 assists. That's 3 assists in the first quarter, so you can't help but back the under. So he's gone under this in 7 out of 8 games against Boston, and he's gone under this in 9 out of his last 10. The problem, the line's set at minus 162. So for those of you on fantasy apps, Chalkboard, Dabble, Rebet, Prize Picks, Underdog, the under in Luka's first quarter assists, I think, is a great play. So feel free to add that one right in. The other one, we might as well stick to the first quarter here. We're looking at Luka Doncic over 9.5 first quarter points. Now, Luka, he's gone over this in 5 out of his last 6 games, which is great. You can see he's gone over in all 3 games in this series, 13 points in each first quarter, which is pretty wild. And then 7 in the first game. Slow start from him prior to that, the last 2 games against Minnesota. So 5 out of his last 6 games, he's gone over 9.5 points. Now, I would normally not take Luka over 8, really. 7.5 is the number I'm always looking for. But Luka's been killing this, and he hasn't even been playing the full 12 minutes in the first quarter. So he's been doing a lot of damage in about 8, 9, 10 minutes. What's crazy about this, I'm just checking some box scores real quick, is the volume of his points coming in the first quarter. So if I take a look at it, in this series, these are his shot attempts in the first quarter, 7, 7, 9, and 8. And in the first quarter, he shot over 50% in the last 3 games. So he's cooking in the first, not to mention those 3-pointers, and he's also getting to the free throw line as well. So Dallas Mavericks are facing elimination every game here on out. So Luka to go over his first quarter, I can't help but like that. So I'm leaning to the over on that. The next player of Luka's that I want to call out is in regards to his rebound prop. So the line at 8.5, it's come down. This was sitting at 9.5 for quite some time, but the last 2 games against Boston, we've seen his rebound numbers kind of tail off a little bit. So if we look at the last 5, you can see 4 games against Boston, 10, 11, but then 6 and 5 in the last 2. Now, the one thing about, you can either react to the recent form that he's had in the last 2 games against Boston, where his rebound chances were low, 10 and 9. Or the other way that you can look at it is you can look at his road rebounds, where he's got an excellent record here on the road. Check this out. So you can see Luka has covered this line in 6 out of his last 7 games on the road. If that means anything to you, that's an interesting insight. The concern for me, though, is that the rebound chances are quite low. And that is because the Boston Celtics trying to hunt Luka a little bit. They're attacking him off the dribble. Luka's not necessarily in the position. So Luka gets a lot of his rebounds sitting on the weak side where he's not defending anybody. The Boston Celtics are forcing him to play defense. So with that in mind, it probably takes the rebound play out of it for me, for Luka. But the line at 8.5, you'd be crazy not to think he can go over it. He's got a great rebounding rate against the Boston Celtics on the road, 3 out of 4. And 5 out of his last 8 against them. But the last 2 is a bit of a concern. They're also the 2 games where he had the lowest rebound chances. But also keeping in mind that very last game, only played 32 minutes. So He would have had more opportunities. Would he gone over 9? I'm not too sure. But the rebounds play for me, it's not one that I'm liking. The other look here, we can take a look at his assists. So his assists against the Boston Celtics in this series, 1, 11, 6, and 5. The line's moved down to 7.5. This had been sitting at 8.5 for the majority of this series. And why is it down? Well, his potential assist numbers are down. 8 and 7 in his last 2. So the assist volume is not there. He had the one game against the Boston Celtics where he got the triple-double. But the Dallas Mavericks, they didn't look great in that game. They do look a lot better when he releases that ball early, where he's not forced to create everything. The other noticeable change about Luka Doncic, he's bringing the ball up the court less and less. So they're trying to get the reps off him, trying to keep him fresh towards late in the game. So we're seeing more PJ Washington initiate the offense, some more Kyrie Irving. So a lot of these playmaking stats, they're kind of being shared. So I can't help but lean to the under on this, but the line seems to be coming down. If we look at his points prop, 32.5 for Luka. He's gone under this in all 4 games in this series, 30, 32, 27, and 29. I think the upside to this, if we look at volume, the volume is crazy high, especially in that last game, only playing 32 minutes. And where Luka can be better, free throw percentage could be better, that's for sure. But the other is his 3-point percentage. So he made 4 3-pointers in the first 2 games of this series, both of these road games against the Boston Celtics. But then his last 2 games, 1 from 7 and then 0 from 8. So he's 1 from 15 in his last 2 games, both of those being home games for Dallas. On the road, does he shoot better? That's the only question mark. So I think there's only upside to Luka's points. He gets more minutes, more 3-pointers could potentially go down. So I'd probably have to lean to the over despite him not hitting it at all so far in this series. And I think the other look there is if you're looking specifically at his 3-pointers made prop, it doesn't look great when you look at the head-to-head numbers against Boston. Only 2 out of his last 8. But if you look at his last 10 games, especially when you break it down to the road games at all, you can see he's covered this in 6 out of his last 7 road games. So he's averaging 4.6 3-pointers in his last 7 road games. And you can see it right here. On the road, he's shooting more 3-pointers as well. The volume is higher, but also the percentage is a lot higher. But you have to question, why is Luka Doncic's 3-point percentage down? Is it the way that the Boston Celtics are defending him? Based on what I've seen, the shots aren't too difficult. It's what he normally takes. He's just not getting them to fall. On the road, I wouldn't be too surprised to see Luka Doncic smash some 3-pointers. So, yeah, I'd probably lean to the over on his 3-point prop. The volume's definitely going to be there. But at the same time, I think all the players in this series are pretty gassed. They're pretty banged up. So everybody is shooting 3-pointers a little bit worse. So I'd lean to the over, but it's not a bet that I necessarily want to take. But the other bet with insights for Luka Doncic is going to be around his steals. So check this out. His line for steals is 1.5. He's covered this in 7 out of his last 10 games, averaging 2.3 steals per game. If we look at head-to-head matchups against Boston more recently, so in this series, 2, 4, 1, and 3. So he's covered in 3 out of the 4 games so far. The other look here is if we look at his last 5 games, 4 out of 5. But if we look at his last 5 games on the road, he's also covered this in 4 out of his 5 games. So the 2 road games against Boston so far, 2 and 4 steals from Luka Doncic. A lot of these are deflections. The Boston Celtics are starting to get a little bit loose with it. So I don't necessarily hate this play. I'm not going to lie. Luka Doncic over his steals. And look, given this could be the last game that we see this season, why not get a little bit crazy with it? So I do like this steals prop. Defensively, the Dallas Mavericks are looking a whole lot better, and Luka's going to get a whole lot of minutes and opportunities. So there could be some steals. Drew Holiday was dropping that ball all over the joint, and deflections there for Luka. So I don't mind that at all. The other play that I'd consider taking for Luka would probably be the under in his rebounds and assists. So 17.5. In my opinion, he either gets a triple-double or he goes under this line. So it's at minus 135 at the moment, which is not great. If I do my line shopping and that's where the line is, I'm probably not going to take it because I prefer to get more money back once I put my bets down. But my initial lean is for Luka to go under. I would love to see him go over and Dallas get the win, but I think Dallas can win without Luka getting a triple-double, not going to lie. So those are my thoughts on Luka Doncic. The next player we're going to look through is Kyrie Irving. Let's check out my man Kyrie. We'll see what insights we can get from him, and then we'll roll on from there. So let's take a look. All right, points for Kyrie Irving sitting at 23.5. He's covered this line of 23.5 in only 4 out of his last 10 games, still averaging 24 points per game, because when he goes over, he scores 30 plus. Now, the concern for me is if we look at his road games, Kyrie Irving, he's covered this in only 2 out of his last 10 games on the road. That goes down back all the way back to the Clippers, the Thunder, the Timberwolves, now against Boston. Not doing too well on the road, unfortunately. So only averaging 19.2 points per game on these last 10 road games. And then if you look at his road games in Boston, 4 straight road games where he's gone under 20, 19, 12, and 16 for Kyrie. So you can't help but look to the under on that one. So that's definitely how I'd be leaning if I was betting on Kyrie Irving. I'm very Kyrie biased, being my favorite player after all, and I'd never want to take a bet when he's under in points. I want to see my man cook, but I wouldn't put my money on it. So in terms of his points, that's definitely the way that I'll be leaning. If we take a look at his assists, 4.5 assists for Kyrie. He's cashed this in 4 out of his last 9 against Boston. Looking at his last 5 games, so we can see how he's gone in this series: 2, 6, 2, and then 6. If you follow these trends, he's probably going under and finishing on 2 assists. But if we look at his potential assists, they're a little bit up and down, not going to lie. The last game, only 8 potential assists, finishing on 6, though, as Dallas Mavericks were killing the Celtics, but I wouldn't put too much stock into that. So the assist side of things for Kyrie, I probably want to stay away with. I don't have too much confidence around that. Rebounds, we're looking at 3.5. In this series, he's gone for 3, 2, 3, and 4. So 3 games to the under, 1 to the over. I think he's going to play a whole lot of minutes in this one, so the opportunity should be there. Dallas, if they can continue what they did in the last game and they're really strong defensively, there could be more rebound opportunities for Kyrie. So I don't necessarily have a lean on this one. I think the line is just about right for Kyrie, so I'd encourage you to stay away. One of the props that I would consider taking, though, is this, and it's Kyrie Irving over 4.5 points in the first quarter. In this series, he had 4 points in game 1, 8 points in game 2, and then 9 points in games 3 and 4 in the first quarter. We're seeing a lot more volume from Kyrie Irving. The aggressiveness is there, and the shot percentage has improved a little bit, to be honest. So let me just take a quick look at the volume and stuff. So these are his attempts in the first quarter in this series: 5 and 5 in games 1 and 2, and the games 3 and 4 at home. 7 attempts in both games. In both of those games, he made 4 buckets in the first quarter. So at 4.5, you only need 2 of them, right? And in the last 2 games, he made a 3-pointer in each of the first quarters, blowing this out. So I do like the over for Kyrie. At 4.5, the lines come down, and I think it's because they're playing into this road record. But my man started to cook, facing elimination. If he honestly gets thrown off just because of the crowd, you've got to start to question my boy's mentality. But I do like the over for Kyrie. I might put a small amount on him to get 7 points in the first quarter, but I think that's a good look. The other bet that I think could be an interesting look here is for Kyrie Irving to get a steal. So he hasn't got a steal in 3 straight games against the Boston Celtics. That's not great. For him to get 1 steal is minus 119. If you look at his last 10 games, he's only had a steal in 4 out of his last 10. So that's not great. But if we look at his road games, let me just get his last 10 road games up. We can see here, he's hit this in 7 out of his last 10 games on the road. I don't think it's such a bad look. I probably do prefer Luka's, to be honest. He's a bit more active with his hands, whereas Kyrie tends to keep his hands out of the cookie jar. But I think the hit rate on that isn't too bad whatsoever. Next up, we're looking at Daniel Gafford. So his hit rates are crazy, and that's because his lines have moved down quite a bit. Now check this out. His points line's at 6.5. It's a plus money play. He's hit this in 8 out of his last 10 games. He's hit this in 15 out of his last 17 games. So the hit rate for Daniel Gafford's first quarter total points line at 6.5, man, that's crazy. But you got to check it out. This series, 8, 13, 6, and 7 points for Gafford. So he's covered in 3 out of his last 4. He's had 2 really strong games in Boston. Now, the reason why these lines have come down for Daniel Gafford is this. His minutes have come down. Derek Lively is getting a whole lot of minutes, especially in the last 2 games. Daniel Gafford still starts, but Derek Lively definitely getting those opportunities. I was curious to look at his first quarter points prop, but he's not doing too much damage in the first quarter, believe it or not. So, but no Porzingis doesn't necessarily change too many things for Gafford, because the one thing we know about the Mavericks and Jason Kidd, whoever's being more effective is just getting more time. So Daniel Gafford, though, he is a mismatch down low. They're going to have Gafford or Lively on there at every point of the game. I think Lively, you probably have to cap him at 30 minutes max, which is going to give Daniel Gafford at least 18 minutes in this game. So, but Daniel Gafford has produced these types of numbers in 14 minutes. He scored 8 points, and in 22 minutes, he scored 13. So even though the shot attempts aren't necessarily high, we have started to see a bit more lob action for the Dallas Mavericks. And he's going to get to the free throw line as well by the looks of it. So Daniel Gafford, for me, believe it or not, I think the whole Derek Lively getting a whole lot of minutes and killing in the last 2 games is probably going to inflate his lines to the point that they're not bettable. But Daniel Gafford's line's coming down. I feel like this is an overreaction. I might be wrong, but you got to risk it for the biscuit, baby. So Daniel Gafford, I do like the over in his points. Let's take a look at his rebounds now. So his rebounds, he's only connected on 3, 9, 3, and 4. So he's gone under this in 3 out of 4 games in this series. His rebound line hasn't moved. It was at 4.5 in the last game, finished with 4. His points line has come down, though. And if we look at his rebound chances, quite low, 5 and 6 in his last 2 games. In this game, he had 16 rebound chances, but he got 22 minutes. But I just can't trust the rebound sides for Daniel Gafford. I know it's only 4.5, but the fact that we don't know whether he's going to get the minutes or not makes me a little bit concerned. The other look for Daniel Gafford, if you have the props available, is you could look at his under in assists. So if you look at his last 5 games on the road, Daniel Gafford has covered this. He's hit the under in 4 out of his last 5 games on the road in terms of assists. He only gets 1.2 potential assists per game on the road. If you're desperate to get some plays out, Daniel Gafford to go under at minus 118. It's a pretty degenerate play, but the hit rate on it is nice. And if you're sticking with Daniel Gafford, one other look is for him to get 1 block. It's at minus 119. He's had 1 block in 3 straight games in this series. The Boston Celtics, they do allow the fewest blocks in the league. The 3rd fewest blocks are centers on the season. So it's going to be difficult. I've actually bet he's under in a block in this series, and he still got it. So he's where he is getting his blocks, though. He did block Jason Tatum on a 3-pointer. The game prior, I think he blocked Jaylen Brown going to the paint. So the hit rate on this is nice. Daniel Gafford has recorded a block in 83% of games this season, 79 out of 95 games. In head-to-head matchups against Boston, he's got a block in 5 out of his last 7 games. So 3 consecutive games. You're looking for Daniel Gafford to get 1 block at minus 119. I honestly don't hate that. Like, I might even be willing to build a Daniel Gafford parlay. You could take his over in points, get him for some rebounds, chuck a block in there. Why not? But the hit rate on that is crazy, and it's for him to get 1 block at minus 119. Like, come on, man. I don't hate that at all. All right, who we got next? We'll stick with the big man here. We'll go with Derek Lively next. Let's see how high his lines have moved up. So the first look here, it's got a great hit rate on it. It's his over rebounds in the first quarter at 1.5. So we can see Derek Lively has recorded over 1.5 rebounds in 8 of his last 10 games. In these games against Boston, though, check this out. 0 in game 1, 4 in game 2, 2 in game 5. 2, 3. So 2 in game 3, 5 in game 4. My God, I chose a very difficult way to explain this. But the 3 straight games, Derek Lively's gone over his first quarter rebound prop. So I do like that. He does play more minutes in the first quarter than Daniel Gafford does. So I do like that, especially with no Porzingis. Derek Lively to get those rebounds in the first quarter. I like it a lot. Next up, his points line. So it's at 8.5. Last 2 games, he scored 11 points in both of the games in Dallas. The 2 games in Boston, he only scored 2. But we can see that he has seen a significant uplift in his minutes in the last 2 games. 8.5 uplift. I'd probably lean to the over given the minutes, but on the road, Gafford's been a lot more productive than Derek Lively, so I'm a little bit hesitant to bet that. And if I am going to bet Daniel Gafford over his points line, it might be difficult to get both Lively and Gafford to cover at the same time. His rebound line is also at 8.5. In the first 2 games, 5 and 7 for Lively. The 2 games in Dallas, 13 and 12 rebounds for him. So absolute freak. I think the way to bet Derek Lively is he either goes over on both or he's going under in both, because a lot of it's dependent on minutes and how he plays when he's out there. Another look could be the double-double for Lively. It's at plus 280. So that way you don't have to bet so much. I think I ran a parlay in the last one. I took Daniel Gafford over points and rebounds and then Derek Lively under his points and rebounds in the same game parlay. I think I paid like plus 600. And then I took the reverse of that, Derek Lively over points and rebounds, and then Gafford under points and rebounds. That's the one that absolutely cashed for me. So made a little bit of dough, and I might be running it back something similar. But I think the other look for Derek Lively, you might even look at the under in his blocks. So the under in his blocks is cashed in all 4 games against the Boston Celtics, which is pretty crazy. It's a plus money play. So it's scary because Lively is getting more minutes, more opportunities. The under's only cashed in 33% of his games this season, but he's less likely to contest all these blocks, unlike Daniel Gafford. Lively moves his feet, contests shots, not necessarily blocking everything. So you could have a block parlay with Derek Lively. Look, the only reason I'm taking this on my leans list is purely the odds. It's a plus money play, and it's a never hit in this series. So yeah, I don't mind it. I got to tell you, I don't mind it. And this is the last game. We might be getting crazy in this one, but who cares? You know what I'm saying? All right. Next up, we've got PJ Washington. So PJ Washington's points line has come all the way down to 11.5. He had one really slow game, but let's take a look at it. In this series, PJ Washington's covered 11.5 in the first 3 games. That most recent game, he only scored 6 points. Only got 13 minutes, the lowest production he's had. You probably assume the whole playoffs, right? If we look to see what's happening, he usually takes 9 to 10 shots per game. That's his average. That last game, he only had 4 shots. But this line has come down a lot. After the first 2 games in Boston, PJ Washington's line moved up to 14.5 points. Now it's down to 11.5, so you need 12 points to cover. In Boston, he's been strong. The minutes have been there, and he has been getting some buckets. The fact that he had less minutes is probably more related to the fact that the Mavericks were rolling with whoever they had on there. I think the design is going to have PJ Washington on there. It makes a lot more sense, but this line feels low as hell. If we look at just his games on the road in this playoff, 6 out of 10, 13.5 as an average. But I think PJ Washington's points and his rebounds, they're all correlated to minutes because the points line has come down. I'm interested to see what his rebound line is. 5.5. So even that has come down. Check out these rebound numbers in this series. 8, 7, and 8 for PJ. Had 2 rebounds in that last one. Yeah, I think there's value here. So for PJ Washington, the way that I would bet it is because the only concern for me is minutes, right? But I have a feeling he's going to go either over his points and then over his rebounds, or he's going to go under his points and under his rebounds. So I think the parlay here is the best way to take PJ Washington. If we take a look at his 3-pointers made prop as well, he's covered this 1.5 in 13 of his last 16 games. Looking at his last 10, 7 out of his last 10. So even in that last game, he only made 2 shots, but both of them happen to be 3-pointers, which is pretty wild. But both of the last 2 games where he has covered have been at home. So in Boston, he did struggle to shoot. That makes me a little bit hesitant. So I think it's a fair assumption to think PJ Washington, I think he gets back to his regular minutes. If it wasn't for the blowout, he probably still plays a lot more. If this game was competitive, it makes the most sense. He's one of their better shooters and defenders, so the minutes should be there. But I think for PJ Washington, we got to go hard or go home. So I'll be looking at the over in his points, and I'm going to times that by over in his rebounds. I might even take 7 rebounds. Either way, you'll see. You can check my winning pool, or I'll put it in the pinned comment if I've got it all done by the time this video is edited. But yeah, over in PJ's points and rebounds, I think that's going to be a parlay that I play. I'm not going to take a straight bet on PJ, I'd prefer to just risk it. Let's get a little bit more happening. All right, up next, this one will probably be quick. Derrick Jones Jr. Now, we've seen over the last 2 games, his minutes have come down, but also his line's probably coming down too. So the line, his points line's at 5.5 in this series, 5, 11, 2, and 5. So he hasn't had a good hit rate. Last 2 games, minutes are down, but there was a blowout. I feel like in game 3, his minutes were down full stop because they were chasing points. In game 4, he actually played more minutes despite the blowout. So I think he was going to get back up to the high 20s and 30s. But if the Dallas Mavericks do fall behind by a lot early, then we might not see some Derrick Jones minutes. So the points, I don't necessarily want to play. But the rebounds, that has been an interesting look. So 2.5 is the line now. So in this series, 6, 3, 3, and 2 rebounds. For Derrick Jones Jr. to get over 2.5 at plus money, you might have my interest. Now, the rebound potential's not very high, but the hit rate on this is pretty good. 61% hit rate on the season, 70% hit rate in his last 10. Against Boston, his rebounds have really started to come in the playoffs. So this could be a good look here for Derrick Jones Jr. I don't hate the rebounds look. 3 boards, he should get 28 to 30 minutes if the Mavericks can keep it close and competitive. But like I said, if they're chasing points, Derrick Jones Jr. probably doesn't get much time. So I don't like it as much as some of the other players. I'm going to have to pass on DJJ. Next up, someone who could be interesting is Josh Green. Now, I like Josh Green in this, not because of his form, but purely because of the impact. He's going to get more minutes because of how he's been playing. So his point line's at 3.5. He hasn't been scoring very well. 3, 4, 3, and 3 in this series. But what we're seeing is some pretty decent minutes, close to 20 minutes a night. He's been pretty good defensively. The volume's not very high for his shooting. So I don't like the points prop necessarily, but let's say something like rebounds. 2.5 is the line. In this series, 3, 1, 3, and 5 rebounds for Josh Green. So for him to go over 2.5 rebounds, it's a plus money play. We saw these are his rebound chances: 5, 3, 5, and 6. I think a safe guess would probably be he will get about 5 rebound chances. So for him to get 3, you'd need him to be uncontested. So he's getting 4.2 rebound chances over his last 10 and 2.4 as an average. So he's looking at about a 60% rebound to rebound chance rate. And if he's getting 5 rebound chances, 60% of that is 3, which is exactly what we need. So we basically just need him to get 20 minutes, get the same opportunities he normally would, and then this line cashes. If you look at the head-to-head numbers against Boston, he's also covered this in 5 out of his last 7. It's a 71% hit rate, and a lot of this is off 5 rebound chances. So you can see if he gets 5 rebound chances or more, he cashes 3 boards. So that's 60%. Hood mathematics is coming true. So, yeah, I like Josh Green here. I don't mind that. Provided that it's still plus money by the time I get on the bet, I think Josh Green rebounds, that could be a good look. The other player that could be a good look for the Dallas Mavericks coming off the bench is Dante Exum. So both of these Australian boys be getting busy. Dante Exum was exactly what the Dallas Mavericks needed in that last game, and I'll tell you why. Dante Exum, I know he dribbles like Bob Cousy. I get that. But he plays with pace. He dribbles very fast. He doesn't know how to stop. But the good thing for Dallas is he does play with pace, and that's what they need to beat the Boston Celtics. So I do think Dante Exum continues to get some decent runtime. He got 13 minutes in the last game, and it's nothing crazy, right? But those 13 minutes were before the blowout. So 13 minutes in 3 quarters of play. He would have got some run in the fourth, I'm sure of it. He'd probably get 15 to 18 minutes. So a lot of his recent form, it's not fantastic whatsoever. If we look at the season data, though, and let's say he plays between 15 and 20 minutes, I think 20 minutes would be his ceiling, but I think he should get at least 15. We can see here that Dante Exum's gone over this line in 12 out of 16 games. So 2.5 is pretty nice. He just needs to hit a three-pointer. And if we just look at his last 5 games, he had 10 points in that last game. He was 4 from 7. He was 2 from 4 from deep. So I think Dante Exum has some crazy upside. Now, I'm not saying he goes mental, but at 2.5 points, honestly, I don't mind that whatsoever. So Dante Exum, you made my list, my boy. And then the other prop for Dante Exum, let's check it out. Assists, His line is at 0.5. He hasn't got assists in the last 2, so I don't love that. Potential assists are down. So he's normally attacking the basket or catching and shooting from downtown. You can get Dante Exum to get 1 3-pointer at plus 145. He did attempt 4 in the last game, but I wouldn't be banking on that. His rebounds at 1.5 is also plus money. He had 2 boards in that last game from 4 rebound chances. Look, a lot of this is really dependent on minutes. And he played 13 minutes in that last game. I can see him getting over 15. If we look at the year, between 15 and 20 minutes, Dante Exum, 13 out of 16. So I do think the over on his boards and his points are closely correlated. Maybe similar to PJ Washington. Might look to take the over in both as a parlay because I think it's pretty unlikely that he covers one and doesn't cover the other. But again, I'm a bit of a degenerate sometimes. But 1.5 at plus money, shoosh. We might get a 3-1 here for Dante Exum on those 2 props. So the Dante Exum looks I like. If you had to take a straight bet, I'd probably just say points plus rebounds. If that's at 3.5, but the over is at minus 140. So if you're able to get him on your fantasy apps, Dante Exum points plus rebounds is a good look. Minus 140, not a great hit rate. It's a great hit rate, but the odds for that aren't terrific. So I would pass on that. All right, let's jump into these Boston Celtics to see what's cooking. Starting with Jason Tatum. So Jason Tatum, I did put some of his insights in the email that I sent in my newsletter earlier this week. Like I said, if you're interested in signing up to that newsletter, I'm going to be sending a weekly email with different tips and strategies to get more profit into your pockets and improve your win rate. Whether I talk about fantasy sports, whether I talk about sports betting, tips on betting parlays, on doing research, on different tools and resources that come my way, you don't have to wait for my videos. I'll get an email directly to you. So the link for that's in the video description. Please do check that out. But Jason Tatum, the first prop I did talk through was his rebounds plus assists. Now, this has been a very popular play throughout the playoffs. It hasn't been connecting quite well in the last 2. Now, the call out that I made is that he's exceeded 15.5 rebounds and assists in 4 of his last 5 games at home. So last 5 games, 3 out of 5. Last 5 games at home, check that out. The 2 games against Dallas, 16 and 21. Prior to that, Pacers and Cleveland, he's cashing this thing out too. So the rebounds plus assists, it's not a bad look. But the challenge with Jason Tatum is the last 2 games, sucking. Absolutely sucking. If we look at his potential assists, they were down 8 and 5. If we look at his rebound chances, 10 rebound chances in both games. Did only get 27 minutes in that last game, but still had 8 rebound chances. He normally plays close to 40 to 45 minutes. So you might be able to add an extra 30, 40% to those rebound chances. And then you're looking at 13 to 15 maybe rebound chances. So he probably could have got a lot more boards given the minutes that could have been there. But what I'm saying is his rebounds plus assists, I wouldn't go crazy about it. If anything, it's a little bit unpredictable. I'd probably lean to the under given the shit show that we've seen. But they did just lose a game. You'd expect the Boston Celtics to bounce back in some way. His points line, 27.5 for Jason Tatum, cashing in 4 of his last 10 in this series. 16, 18, 31, and 15. In that last game where he only got 27 minutes, he did shoot 4 from 10, 1 from 4 from deep, 6 from 6 from the free throw line. If anything, he was probably the only person scoring from Boston. I think he scored, 11 points in the first quarter. So I think the first quarter look could be a good one, especially given there's no Kristaps Porzingis. In terms of his total points line, I'd probably lean to the under on it. But before we get to the first quarter points, I'm leaning to the under on all of Jason Tatum props, to be honest. I'd probably be considering taking the under in his PRA. So his PRA at 43.5, he's gone under this in all 4 games in this series. The game where he had 12 assists, he went under. The game where he's finally scored 31 points, he went under. So in order for Jason Tatum to cash you over in this, you need a dominant, you need him to absolutely go crazy in 2 prop categories. Maybe even 3. Well, you need him to go crazy on points, but you also need him to get either heaps of rebounds and heaps of assists to go along with those points, and I don't think it happens. So the under 43.5 PRA for Jason Tatum, that's what I'll be taking. I think if Boston do win this, it won't be off the back of one player's individual performance. I feel like you'll see Derek White, Drew Holiday, Jaylen Brown, maybe even Al Horford, and Jason Tatum. I feel like they'll all be chipping in. So in terms of his first quarter points prop, let's have a look at that. I feel like it's been hidden well. 7.5 for Tatum. The last 2 games, 13 and 11 points. So he's been crushing it in the last 2. So the question is, has he been going over because the Boston Celtics are now on the road, or were on the road, sorry? Or is it because there's no Kristaps Porzingis? Well, let me show you something. His games with Kristaps Porzingis, on the season, he averages 5.8 points per game in the first quarter with Kristaps. Now, if we go without Kristaps Porzingis, it shoots up to 8.91 points. That's a 3-point swing in the first quarter. My hood mathematics tells me we're looking at about a 30 to 40% increase in Jason Tatum's first quarter points. My Lord. Last 5 without Porzingis, you can see the 2 games against Dallas. So minutes, he's playing the full first quarter without KP. So for Jason Tatum, I'm liking the over. 7.5 points in the first quarter. Give me that. He pisses me off. I don't like watching him play. But the first quarter points prop for Jason Tatum, it looks good to me. The other one for Jason Tatum, and I put this in the email I sent out, is around his steals and his blocks. Now, Jason Tatum, he's failed to exceed 1.5 steals and blocks in 7 out of his last 8 games versus top 10 defenses for blocks allowed, which is pretty wild, right? Right here. Dallas Mavericks don't get blocked all too often either. If we look at this series, he's gone under this in 3 out of the 4 games. And in those games, he had 1 block, 1 steal, 1 steal. But then in the most recent game, he got 2 blocks and 1 steal, which is pretty wild. So I think that's got a pretty good insight. The hit rate's not too bad. Not a bet that I'm going to take. I do like the others, but insightful nonetheless. Next up, we got Jaylen Brown. Man, I bet on Jaylen Brown last time. That was stupid. But let's talk about insights and hit rates. First quarter points prop from Jaylen Brown. In the regular season, absolute wagon. Halfway through the Indiana series and so far in this Maverick series, in the first quarter, Jaylen Brown has been ass. So check this out. He's gone under 6.5 points in the first quarter in 6 consecutive games. In this Dallas series, all 4 games, 4, 2, 4, and 4. 2 games without Kristaps Porzingis. He's getting a lot more minutes, 12 minutes, but still ass. You know what I'm saying? Not doing too well. If you look at the head-to-head matchup, he's gone under in the first quarter in 6 out of his last 8 games against the Dallas Mavericks. So you can't help but lean that way. Am I right? But I'm just going to check volume, because if the volume is high, it could scare me from taking this. But I'm having a look now. This is what he's done in the first quarter. The first 2 games against Dallas, he had 3 attempts in both of the first quarters. And then in the 2 games in Dallas, we started to see a little bit more. He took 4 shots in game 3 and then 6 shots in game 4. Unfortunately, his shot percentage at the start of the game has been pretty trash. Under 33% in all 4 of those games. If he shoots a higher percentage, there's a risk that it goes over here. So if at 5.5, I wouldn't take the under. At 6.5, I still could be interested. So if I can get odds like this at 6.5, I think it might be worth a play. So if we're talking about first quarter points props, this rebound prop's been hitting quite well in this series. Jaylen Brown to go over his first quarter rebounds. It's cashed in 3 out of the last 4 games against Dallas. That last game, probably difficult to get rebounds in the first quarter, given how well Dallas was scoring. But if you're big into recent form, Jaylen Brown in the first quarter, not a bad look on his boards, but I'm not going to be touching that. His points line in this game is at 24.5. He's only cashed this in 1 of 4 games against Dallas, believe it or not. He had been shooting a great percentage up until that very last game. So I really think there's a good chance that he has a bounce back. If there's no Kristaps Porzingis, I'd honestly be leaning to the over in this one for Jaylen Brown. If he can get 15 to 20 shots up and shoots over 50% once again, I think the over really is a good look. So you kind of throw away the recent form because you know why things have happened, right? In these first 2 games, he went under in one of that. Drew Holiday went crazy and Kristaps Porzingis went crazy, and Tatum had a big game too. And then in game 3, he scored 30. I think Tatum had a big game in that one. My apologies. But in that most recent game, where he only scored 10, we all know what happened there. So Dallas blowout, right? So you can, in a way, excuse the games Jaylen Brown has gone under. Problem is, could there be another excuse in game 5? So I'd lean to the over for his points. I'm just not sure how much I love it right now. The rebounds are a good look. So the hit rate's not good here. 3 out of his last 10 in this series, 6, 4, 8, and 1 rebound for Jaylen Brown. But if you want to get juicy with it, let me show you what his rebound looks like at home. So he's gone under this. Check this out. Woof, last 8 games. He's gone under this rebound line of 6.5 in 7 out of his last 8 games at home. The only game where he did go over in that span was against the Indiana Pacers. That was a high-scoring game, a lot of pace, and a lot of rebound opportunities. And you can see his rebound chances here. He needs to get 7 boards, but the rebound chances, not consistent. You can probably lock him in for about 10. I think that's a safe assumption against Dallas, 10 to 11. And in that, he needs 7 rebounds from about 11 chances. Might be a little bit difficult. Jaylen Brown doing a lot of work defensively. They're trying to put him on Luka as much as possible, or Kyrie Irving. Luka's trying to switch off him, but then Jaylen Brown not necessarily in the right position to get boards. So I'd personally be leaning to the under in this one. The concern is minus 132, so the odds are not great, but if I can line shop and find something juicy for it, then Jaylen Brown under his boards might be something I'm willing to take. The next look is on his assist prop. So it's now at 3.5. It did bounce to 4.5 in that last game. It's come back down to 3.5, and it's tough to get a read on this one. In this series, 2, 7, and 8 and 2 assists for Jaylen Brown. Had 2 excellent games passing the rock. That last game only had 4 potential assists in the blowout. So I'm going to choose, I can't tell you. Over or under for Jaylen Brown assists? Man, I got no idea. So I'm just going to stay away from it. I can't get a good read on that. If somebody does, let me know. Put it in the comments section below. Next up, let's talk about Jrue Holiday. He had a shit ton of turnovers in that last game. I think he kicked the ball more times than he scored. But let's get his insights for Jrue Holiday. So there's a couple first quarter insights for Jrue Holiday that I do want to go through. And the first one, I want to look at his assists. So Jrue Holiday, in his last 10 games, only covered this 5 times in the first quarter. If you're a big believer in this home court advantage stuff, check this out. 4 out of his last 5 games at home, he's gone over his first quarter assist prop. It is a plus money play as well. So if that's something that you're interested in, it could be a good look. The other is if you want to look at his first quarter rebounds prop, he's gone under this in 13 of his last 17 games at home. So, yeah, he's hit the over in 6 of 20, meaning he's gone under this in 14 of his last 20 games. It's a 70% hit rate. It is at minus 135, though. So, yeah, I'd be a little bit hesitant taking that bet. But the hit rate on these is pretty good. But let's get through his core props. His points line is at 13.5. He's cashed this in 8 of his last 20, which is not good. But 6 of his last 10 makes it look a little bit better. In this series against Dallas, 12, 26, 9, and 10. I feel like the 12.5 is where the line should be for Jrue Holiday. He had one outlier game where he went crazy. But outside of that, he's really starting to regress back. So 13.5, I'd probably lean to the under. And the reason why is volume. He takes about 9 to 10 shots per game. He does shoot at about 55%. He does shoot at 55, even 60%, right? And he makes 6 out of 10 shots. You're looking at 12 points. He doesn't shoot too many free throws, and he might make it 1 to 2 3-pointers. So I think the 12.5 is where the line should be. At 13.5, I'd probably lean to the under, but not necessarily a bet that I want to take. Looking at his assists, 4.5 for Jrue in this series, 5, 3, 5, and 2. If you believe in those types of trends, he's going over in the next one. But if we look at his potential assist numbers, 9, 10, 9, and 7. Had he played more minutes in that last game, he probably finishes on 9 to 10 potential assists as well. For him to get 5, yeah, I probably lean to the over, but I think 5 is the ceiling for Jrue Holiday. So for the most part, I probably lean to the under, really. But yeah, no play on the assist for me. His rebound line at 5.5 in this series, 8 and 11, 2 home games against Dallas. Killed them on the boards. Went to Dallas, rebound rate dropped off completely, so 4 and 3. So the question is, do you think Jrue Holiday gets a lot more rebounds because he's playing at home? Or do you think he continues to get less rebounds because the Dallas Mavericks have figured him out? Well, not figured him out, but they've changed the way that they played, which is therefore impacting Jrue Holiday's ability to get boards. Now, I don't necessarily have a side that I lean on. So what I normally say at this point, fuck it. I'm not betting on that. So I'm going to have to pass on that. The other interesting look here is on the defensive side, his steals plus blocks. So he's gone under this in 3 out of the 4 games against Dallas, and the under is a plus money play. So 3 out of 4 games. Let me show you. 4 games against Dallas. Game 1, he had 1 steal. Game 2, he had a steal and a block. And then the 2 games after that, 1 steal and only 1 block. So the under 1.5 steals and blocks for Drew Holiday, it's a plus money play right now. So yeah, shit, at plus money, I might be willing to get down. Like, look, it's the last game. No, it's not guaranteed to be the last game, but it could be, right? So I don't mind that for Drew. So I'll take a look, and if I can get great odds for it, I'm going to crush it. I'm going to hit it like crazy. 63% hit rate against the Mavs. Why the hell not? But yeah, for the most part on Drew, nothing I'm really loving too much. Crazy to think out of all those Drew Holiday props, under any steals and blocks is the way that I'm going. But let's talk about Derek White. Where my man Derek at? All right, we're looking at the more recent form for Derek White first. First one is the rebounds plus assists. So he's gone under this in 4 out of his last 5 games, under 8.5. It's at minus 120 against Dallas. So the 2 games at home, he only finished on 7 rebounds and assists in both of those games. So the under 8.5 could be on. The game where he did go over, he had 5 boards and 4 assists. So if you're big on the recency thing, I think it's a good look. If you look at the head-to-head numbers against Dallas, he's gone under this in 6 out of his last 8 games against them. So yeah, it's probably I'd probably lean to the under in his rebounds and assists, but let's break down the rebounds and assists more specifically and see what we're talking about. So this is his rebounds at 4.5. He's cashed this in 2 out of the 4 games against Dallas. 50% hit rate. Rebound chances, we're seeing 8, 9, 11, and 7. I think 8 to 9 is probably a good average to work off. Therefore, I think 4.5 rebounds is pretty much a solid line. So if you do like the under in the overall, it's probably the assists that are going to help you get there. He has cashed this 2 out of the 4 games, though. So the problem, well, not the problem, the good thing, this rebound plus assist play, the games where he doesn't rebound well is where he's hitting his assist prop, and the games where he's rebounding well, he's not hitting his assist prop. So if you combine this and take the under, because he hasn't been able to really produce on both, he's done it once, but yeah, I think the hit rate there is not too bad. So I'll be looking at the under. But Derek Light, rebounds and assists. Let me take a look at that. But let's get to his core props. So his points line, 15.5 for Derek White. 15, 18, 16, and then 6 in the last game. He had been very consistent up until that point. The volume, I think it's going to be there. It'll be fine. He'll take a lot of 3-pointers. But I think if you're going to bet on Derek White points, you're better off taking his 3-pointers made prop. It's plus money at 3.5. He has cashed this in 2 out of the 4. The volume's nice. You can expect 8 to 9 3-pointers. And if you can shoot them at you need about 40% in order for him to cash. So even the 3-pointer prop, I don't love too much. So I'm going to have to pass on that. So if I'm looking at Derek White, the main player that I'm probably looking at is the under in his rebounds and assists. The other look for Derek White is around his steals. So for him to get 1 steal is minus 119. And where the steals really turn up for Derek White is in his games at home. So check out his last 5 games at home. He's covered this in 4 consecutive games. 2, 1, 1, and then 3 in that very last game against Dallas at home. 1 steal, minus 119. Why the hell not? The only thing that'll probably scare you away from taking this bet is the last 2 games in Dallas, he didn't get a steal. So if you're big on the home and away splits, then Derek White steals might be a good look for you. I'm not overly convinced by it, but shit, if this starts cashing, I'm gonna have to take some notes and have a look into that next season. The next play we have is Al Horford. All right, so the first play for Al Horford is one that I've been watching closely for quite some time. I talk about it every single video, and it's an over in his first quarter points prop. So the line's at 2.5. It's a plus money play. He did cash 5 points in the first quarter in 3 consecutive games, and then most recently in that last game, he did go under. So luckily enough, I didn't take the bets on Al Horford in the first quarter, and the reason being is it was only the games at home where he took 4 and 3 shots in the 2 games at home. That first game in Dallas, he only took 2 shot attempts. Luckily, he made 2 of them. One of them a 3-pointer, finishing on 5. But then in that most recent game against Dallas, he didn't take any shots in the first quarter. So the volume is what scares me. But at home, if you believe at home he's going to take more shots, then hell yeah, take it. I'm personally not going to take it, but if you are going to take it, man, you can get some value if you take Al Horford for 5 points in the first quarter. That's what I'm saying. I might sprinkle a little bit on his 5 points only. Can't get an alternate here, but I know on Bet365 you definitely can take 5 points in the first quarter. That might be a look for Al Horford. You probably get plus 200, maybe even plus 300. But looking at his core props points, his line's at 8.5. He's hit this in one of the 4 games against Dallas, and that happened to be the first game. Since then, 5, 8, and 3 points for Al Horford. He does score a lot of his points in the first quarter. So another look for parlays, you could look at Al Horford over in the first quarter and then under his total points prop. But I don't think I'm going to be playing any of those. I'd probably lean to the under for his points, to be honest. The 8.5, I'm not with it. At 7.5, I'd probably be a little bit hesitant, but at 8.5, could definitely see him going to the under on that, but not a bet I'm ultimately too confident to take. But his rebounds could be a good look. So he does rebound very well at home, and I'll show you that. Firstly, in this series, 7, 7, 5, and 3. So the 2 games where he's gone over were at home. If we put the filter on for home games only, he's hit 7 out of his last 10 games at home, averaging 7.6 boards. So again, if you're big on the home and away splits, it's a good look. If you look at his head-to-head, 4 games at home against Dallas, he's covered in 3 straight games at home. In those games, less than 30 minutes played. He probably gets close to 30 minutes in this game, given that Porzingis still pretty banged up. But then if you look at Dallas overall, he's 4 from 8. So a lot of the games where he has gone over are the games at home. So yeah, I'd lean to the over here for Al Horford's boards. I've got a smorgasbord of bets in my slip at the moment, so I'm not really feeling it. But another one that has a good rate is the steals plus blocks. So this is against Dallas. He's only hit in 3 out of his last 8. But if you're looking at recent form, check this out. Al Horford's gone over this in 7 out of his last 10 games. 2-2 so far in this series. If that's a type of bet and this is the type of analysis that you need to help you take it, go for it. I'm personally not feeling too much on Al Horford here. So I'm going to have to pass on it, but doesn't mean you have to. All right, I'll go real quick through these next ones because I want to talk about Sam Hauser and Peyton Pritchard real quick. The main look for Peyton Pritchard, if you're taking anything, is his points. So looking at Peyton Pritchard, his points line is at 3.5, ridiculously low. If there's a blowout, the 10 points are going to look good. So when the line is this low, I honestly think putting a little bit for 10 points is always a good look because the blowout can happen either way. If the Boston Celtics come out, blow them out, Peyton Pritchard's probably going to get more time and vice versa. But he's covered his points line of 3.5 in only 1 out of the 4 games in this series, and that was when there was a blowout. He got a lot more minutes, took a whole lot more shots, 14 shots. And he didn't even shoot that well, but he took a lot of them. So that's my thought on Peyton Pritchard. I wouldn't bet the under 3.5. It's really just 2 buckets. So, yeah, if you think there's a chance for a blowout or you want to take the 10 points, I think the 10 points is a good look. I'm not saying it's going to hit, but for the odds that you're getting, it's probably a good look. And the next one is Sam Hauser. So Sam Hauser is probably going to get more opportunities than Peyton Pritchard. Defensively, he's better, has more size, and probably more reliable shooting. So his points, he's gone over this in 3 out of the 4 games against Dallas. 8, 2, 9, and 14. Line's at 5.5. So you're really betting on him to make 2 3-pointers in this game. Minutes-wise, they're not too bad. You can probably book him in for 15. Obviously, a lot of these shots are coming from downtown. So the bet you're really looking at is probably 2 3-pointers made for this 5.5. And he's hit 2 3-pointers in 3 out of the 4 games. So minus 108 for the 3-pointers prop. Minus 112 for the points prop. I'd probably take the points prop because there's a little bit of safety there. He doesn't shoot many free throws, but if he does, it'll count. So he shot free throws in 1 of the games. 2 free throws in 1 of these games. So if there's a chance he gets I don't know how he's going to get free throws, not going to lie, but I think it is a safer play. But if he hits the 5.5 points, 99% likely that he hits them because of 2 3-pointers being made, but I don't necessarily hate this look for Sam Hauser. 3-point attempts are going to be there. He's taken enough 3-pointers to cover this line in all games. His hit rate in the last 2 has been pretty good. He made 4 out of 6, so he might come into this game with a little bit of confidence. So Sam Hauser, 3-pointers. It could be a good look. If we look at his last 5 games at home, yeah, he's only hit this line in 1. But that happened to be against Dallas. So, yeah, I probably lean to the over for Sam Hauser, but given all the players that I've gone through, it's not one that excites me the most. But I do have a smorgasbord of picks. Got a couple on Luka Doncic that I'm going to sift through. 1 on Kyrie Irving. Got 2 for Daniel Gafford, 2 for Derek Lively, PJ Washington, Josh Green, Dante Exum, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Drew Holiday, and then Derek White as well. So there's a lot of players for me to sift through. If there's any that I've already placed by the time I upload this video, I'll put in the pinned comment. If there are any extras that I add, Winnable is going to be the place. If I do some crazy parlays, I'll take screenshots of them and I'll share them in Winnable for you as well. But feel free to check that out. So the last reminder I got for you guys is the stuff that's scrolling on the bottom of the screen right now. If you don't have Rebet, Dabble, or Chalkboard, support your boy and use the links I have in the video description. I do get a small kickback if you decide to use them. But I think most importantly, sign up to that newsletter, the email, the landing page. The link for that is in the video description below. I might not be putting out content as often as I have been. I'm working on a few other things to ultimately give you more value, such as a weekly email to give you some different tips and tricks. I'm working on a workshop, potentially an online course, all these different things to help you. And I'm also looking to create some more educational content as well. So let me know if you made it this far into the video. I want to do a little bit of a test. I know that YouTube loves a bit of comment activity. I want to see if positive comments actually drive this video to more viewers. So if you have made it this far, in the comment section below, I ask you to just leave something very positive about the video. Let me know what you liked. If you like, say this video is great, it's fucking awesome, whatever it is, leave me a positive comment if you've made it this far, and we'll see if YouTube pushes this out to more people. But thank you. I appreciate y'all. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.
Sub to the channel cause your boy's getting busy. Coming to your line from the west side of Sydney. We've got the free picks and the juice on the daily. It's all free, you don't even have to pay me.